and good evening. So, my name is Caitlin. I am excited to bring you another Cosmic Tea Time chat. Today, we're diving into the topic of intuition and self discovery and a self healing journey, right? And how your intuition can lead you to self acceptance and so much more. I'm beyond excited to have a lovely guest here with me. LaLa. LaLa, will you please introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about you?
Hi everyone, I'm LaLa. Well, my real name is actually Angela, but my friend's been calling me LaLa since I was 15, so it just become a part of me. But it's also been, I guess, a part of my self-discovery. For longest times I thought I have to live by either or names, and working in a professional sense, I've been in the construction industry here in Australia for 15, actually probably more like 17 years now. And in a very masculine industry, using the word trying to be part of the boys' club whilst trying to find my identity at the same time. So I was born in Taiwan, moved to New Zealand when I was 12, studied architecture in New Zealand, and then decided to move to Australia. Uh, Trusting my gut feel, I guess, intuition partially. Um, just knowing that's some of the things that I should do back then, and that's something that I desire to do. And what was going to be a 1 year adventure turned into a life here. Started working in the industry as a late bloomer. A lot of people started in the industry about 16, and I started when I was 25. Had a long-term relationship, and then finally, before I reached 30, I had a list of boxes to tick. One of it is to get married. So finally that question popped. I said yes, just thinking that that's just something that I should do. And in the end, it didn't quite work out that way. We ended up divorced after 2 years of marriage, and that was when I reached my dark night of the soul. Literally, my world was turned upside down, and having to go through, I guess, learning to be with myself, but also all of those massive, massive emotions that comes along when, your life is going through a phase of purging. I was lucky that I came out the other end instead of deciding to jump off the balcony of my apartment. Um, I think I was lucky in the sense that I was just like, you know what, I can't do that. And I often say that my parents have saved me, being the only person here in Australia with my family's all overseas. I didn't want to be that news headline or that news that my parents received and said that your daughter has committed suicide. So that really saved me. Thinking back, it's almost 10 years ago now. And from that point on, I moved on to personal development. And when my maternal grandmother passed away, she gave me the most beautiful gift, which is my psychic ability. And I still remember she was in Taiwan, and we all knew that the day was going to come. And I just had this calmness that came over me, and I started talking to her. And soon after her passing, I started to, it's almost like the dots start to connect. And all of a sudden, I think in the spiritual sense, my crown chakra opened, and I was able to speak to spirit a lot more. And I truly, truly believe that she was that driving factor. Back in their day and age, woo woo wasn't talked about. In fact, they probably didn't even want people to know that they're woo, because there could be really serious consequences, not just towards your life, but your family's livelihood as well. So she has hidden her gifts, and I truly believe that my mom's generation has hidden their gifts too. So to me, it's a gift to be able to now connect to my intuition, to my spirituality, and be able to speak openly about what I do, especially in the industry that I am in. So that's a little bit
Beautiful.
about me.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I think it's interesting A lot of people I've talked with recently, they feel like they have a strong intuition, but I keep hearing from so many people, oh, I don't have anyone to talk about it with. Oh, there's no one near me who, talks about it or has these gifts. And I find it so interesting. And I don't know if you've witnessed a similar pattern. But I find it so interesting because I know so many people, right, who are like so strongly intuitive and gifted, whether they use it, as part of their profession and, a way to bring in money and abundance into their lives, or just are open about it. And I think that's beautiful that you mentioned how it is such a gift right now to be in this generation. And I think um, you and I are hopefully part of that, to open up more doors, more
Mhm.
conversations, to let people know how normal this is. I don't know if you can relate, but I think everyone's intuitive. I think everyone is psychic. It's just a matter of the language around how we talk about some of these abilities and skills and energy. Um, and so it's really fascinating to witness clients, but also just individuals, on social media or friends, go through this journey of starting to open up
Mm.
and talk about it. What was that like for you? Was there anyone you were hesitant to talk
I think
about?
with everybody, like, the
Yeah.
last thing you want, especially I work with boys who is about tools, about solutions, about physical, tangible things, right? And you say to them, "Oh, I manifested this." They're like, "You what?"
What?
Yeah. But I think it's really just about talking about it.
Mm,
It's about just literally be you. But this is also the hard bit about, self acceptance. And really, for me, it's about that journey of finding my voice. And that's all part of being spiritual as well, because it's all about this throat chakra, right?
mhm,
So for me, at the beginning, it was kind of, I think it was, and that's why I truly believe I was guided, because the moment that it happened, all the right people came into my world to guide me through it. And remember, there's a lady, her name is Athena Bailey. She came into my life just before um, I tapped into my spiritual gifts. And not long after that, she started running her very first Channeling the Spirit Academy course. And that was the time when I went, that is it. That is what I needed to do. And so I think, I often talk about creating space. When you're ready and you are open to create that space for new opportunity to come, the universe will bring the opportunities to you to lead you to the right path.
mhm. Yeah, I think so. And sometimes, it can be challenging to have the patience
Mhm.
to wait while you're creating that space. Hearing you speak a little bit about your story and yourself, I hear you talking a lot about the masculine and masculine energy and working in a male heavy profession. And my younger years, I can relate to that, growing up with two brothers and feeling identifying more as like a tomboy, and oh, I don't like girls because of this and that, and they're dramatic or whatever it is. And then now to see what I do, and I'm working mostly with women and talking about all these divine feminine energetic qualities and things. um, it's really interesting, but I think we're really healing that. And like you said, a big part of that is just opening up conversation,
Mm,
and being honest about the way we sense and receive. And that not only heals the divine feminine in us, but it welcomes space for the divine masculine to heal as well. So we don't have to, work so hard always for everything, right? It's like the divine feminine, she knows how to like sit back and enjoy life, which is most of our goals, right? We want to experience joy, we want to have pleasure. And to do that, right, there are seasons and cycles. And a big part of it is, like you said, to create that space and
mm.
rest and slow down a little bit.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my biggest lesson in life. Being a human design generator, I'm always about go, 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 go. In my chart, there's also a lot of fire sign and fieriness in me. So learning to lean back has really been the challenge, and I completely understand when you talk about that patience thing. Quite often I'm the one going, hey, spiritual team, where is this thing that's coming? But yeah, trusting that there's always divine timing. Not always easy, but you know, for me, it's trusting that there's always that lesson to be learned in being patient.
Hmm. Yeah, and I often say with my clients and in my teachings inside my community and things of approaching it with this open curiosity. Try to
Mm,
stay open, try to stay curious, because it's interesting in that stillness, right? The thoughts that come up and the beliefs that come up and these different feelings and sensations that come up, and sometimes we want to run away. Or it's interesting if we can get to that point to have awareness around
mm,
those levels of resistance and uncomfortability, because it can show you, if you can detach from it, it can show you what you're unlearning. It
yeah.
can show you what perhaps you need to release or is available for you to release in order for you to accept this new thing that you really want, which, like you said, it's
Mm.
on its way to you.
And I think it's like what I talked about in my most recent podcast recording. The universe has got a funny way of delivering things. It started with this gentle nudge, and if you don't get it, it becomes a bit more intense. And if you still don't get it from a spiritual plane, it started to becoming part of your emotional plane and your mental plane. And if you're a bit thick like me and a bit stubborn, quite often it becomes a physical reaction, right? Because that's the last place that the universe or your higher self can kind of demonstrate and go, hey, there's a problem here. And if they can't stop you in any other means to go down this wrong pathway or a path of self disruption, then physicality is the last resort. And that's, I think, quite often why, some people, they don't often get sick, but when they do get sick, they get really, really sick.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, some people have a pattern, and even in Western society, I think, to just like keep going until it's like so bad or so intense where it's like, no, you
Mhm.
have to stop. And now it's not just a day or two, it's like a week or like multiple days where the universe is like, no, I've been trying to tell you, you need to slow,
Yeah.
slow down. Now you're like, kaput. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. So it's, I'm always curious how, what was your experience like diving into your own intuition? I think one of my superpowers is listening to myself. And I just have this, like, maybe it's as a Leo, or I have like all fixed signs in my sun, moon, and rising. Maybe that's part of it, my just stubborn nature. To like, no, I know what I want to do, and I'm going to do it. I might not know
Mhm.
how, but I know that I can make it happen. And so even when I had my spiritual awakening, when I got fired for the first time, and there's ego death with that, and how could this? And I didn't do anything wrong. And I was already leaning into my passions at the time. And I finally opened up and said, yes, I want to finally learn tarot. I want to finally, you know, explore and express my spirituality and see what that can look like for me. And I was sometimes tempted, right, in that stillness and silence, to research, or how do you do this? How does this person
Mhm.
do this? But luckily, right, with that superpower that I have, I always sort of paused. It was like, well, let me just play for a second. Let me see, okay, how do I feel like doing this? And so I would try something out, like work with a crystal, or play with, okay, what could a moon ritual look like? And then I would go and research it. And for me, it was always interesting how, like, my intuition or my own internal guidance was like spot on. And so eventually I got to the point where it's like, oh, I don't even need to like research it necessarily. But what was that process like for you, of
Oh,
leaning into that trust, building that trust muscle?
I think so. If I go back to my chart, it's a very contradictory chart in many sense. There's a lot of water sign and there's a lot of fire sign. Um, My Venus is actually in Aries and my Mars is in Pisces. So there's this inner conflict for me a lot of times. And so there's this, I truly believe this is my gift though. The reason that I work in construction and I've got, my woo side and my astrology placement, what it's really showing me is, and it's what I truly believe, that there is a fine balance, right? There's your logic, strategy, and then there's your intuition and spirituality. And this is kind of like our sort of inner battle with masculine and feminine. We all have masculine and feminine. We all have yin and yang in us. And that's why I truly don't like the word balance. You know, it's all about creating harmony. What is the most harmonizing formula for you? And for me, it's constantly testing in both fields. And so my gift is that I'm really stubborn and I don't give up, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it is my mission on this planet to really experiment with that balance, with that harmonizing, and then teach what I've learned. So for me, a lot of times I have to go and physically make those mistakes. It doesn't matter if I research and whatnot, I have to physically experience it in order to bring it to fruition. That's the same thing with my career. It's the same thing with what I do with my side hustle. It's all about experiment for me. And the moment I can let go of fully leaning into my masculine and wanting to have that quick result, and the more that I could have fun, which is the feminine, the more I can tap into my intuition. And for me, it was a real struggle to find that initially because my brain was really conditioned to take over. Being a high achiever, working in this industry, everything is about logic. Everything is about, can you prove it? So I'm still learning every day to lean into my feminine and trust my intuition. And what I've learned thus far isn't so much that, I'm fully going with my intuition, but at least I'm at a stage where I can tell whether it's this speaking or whether it's this speaking. And I think that is something that's worth practicing for anyone who wanted to start tapping into their intuition more. Instead of wanting to just go, I want to lean into my intuition, learn to identify your head voice and your heart voice.
Hmm. That's a good point. Yeah, and for me, it's almost like a feeling in my body. I don't know, maybe because I'm clairsentient and I feel a lot. I'm really highly sensitive, and so intuition to me is almost like a lightness. There's a sort of
Mm,
lightness with it, and I think it's different for everyone. So,
yeah.
um, and then the ego tends to be like tighter, where I'm like
Mm,
holding my breath, or I'm just
yeah.
like resisting movement of any kind. I'm sort of caught
Yeah.
in indecision. And so I love that you say experiment, because I
Mm,
think that's so, so important to, play, right? Stay
yeah.
open and curious and let it be playful as you
Mm,
experiment with, okay, right? Am I going to follow my head and my logic that wants me to like try and force? And okay, how do I feel after I do that?
yeah.
What was the result of doing that? And wait a second, when I catch that again, okay, what might feel better? There's another
Mm,
idea. What was that first idea that came in? And that's the other thing I found in my experimentation is like usually it's the first thing is your intuition.
yeah.
And like whatever follows after is
Yeah.
like could be more ego or logic or a well engraved pattern.
But I also understand when I first started, I thought everybody's clairvoyant, right? So when people say to
Oh
me,
yeah,
you've
yeah,
got a
yeah.
gift, I'm like, I can't see that. To really then understand that I am actually clairsentient and claircognizant, that has helped me a lot. But it's also being claircognizant. It's one of the hardest things because I just know, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me, it was the aha moment that not everybody is clairvoyant. In fact, even though in my physical form I'm highly visual, I actually can't, for my psychicness, I actually can't see things.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, not everyone knows there are different
Mm.
senses, there are different ways to receive. And when I do psychic readings for individuals, yeah, I like sometimes I'll ask, oh, have you ever gotten a reading before? Okay, everyone, it's always different, right? And then we give our little spiel at the beginning of sort of what to expect. Um, but yeah, because it is so fascinating. And claircognizance is interesting. For a moment there, I thought you were going to say like it's challenging because it still feels like thought,
Mm.
right? So that it's like, well, is that my thought? Is that my ego? And it's like, what is this? Yeah.
I think for me, it's more that logic kicking in. Go like, well, you can't prove that, and you can't, you know, there's no
Okay. Yeah.
logic to it. You can't prove it. You can't demonstrate it. And
Hmm.
for the 3D brain, that's probably one of the most hardest things. So my second thought generally comes in when I have my download. It's like, that's not true.
Hmm. Yeah.
Until we know it's true.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I love that. And you know, for me, it's been interesting experimenting and playing and giving myself time and
Mm.
space to do that. And then eventually, right, as you play more and then when the result, feels good or you get a result that you want from following intuition most often, right? That's what I've come to teach is like when you can access that and
Mm.
follow your intuition, like and do something, even though it doesn't make sense, even though you haven't seen anyone else doing it, like that's your success.
Mm.
That's your abundance that you're wanting. Like do it your way, please. And so having people slow down and access, well, how do I receive as a lot of the work that I do. What's one of your favorite ways to work with people? Because I know we have a similar theme and similar love for
Mm.
this wisdom and these abilities.
For me, I love working with people and space. I just have this connection with space, and quite often, and that's why I love I call it, almost like a space reading. I love tapping into people's homes and their offices and connect them with the space. And that's why the more that I use that, the more that, I'm really working with the earth element a lot, which is funny, right? Because I'm water and fire, but earth is what
Mm,
grounds me.
beautiful. That's so fun. Yeah, and it can make such a big difference because there is energy in our spaces and in our belongings and to align with that just like
Hmm.
we align our thoughts and our emotions when we want to manifest. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
But I think also, at the beginning when I first started this journey, of having my side hustle, everyone keeps saying to me, even my bosses and my colleague, "Are you going to quit your day job one day?" And I just knew that I wasn't.
Mhm.
It didn't make sense. It's that intuition saying no. But the more that I do what I do, the more that that understood that there's a higher purpose of me staying in construction, and that is what connects me to my spiritual gift of healing the land, but through healing people and their connection with the land, we're healing the land as well.
Mhm. Beautiful. Yeah, you don't always have to quit your day job, even if you have a passion to help others and be of service and uh, use your intuition or spirituality or psychic gifts to make money. That's true. And how can people find you? How can they work with you?
um, I think the best way is to with me on Instagram, at the Womanly Way. I do have a blog called the Womanly Way podcast. So if you ever need to find me on all the big socials, just search the Womanly Way. Um, what you will find is in 2024, I am going to become a lot more exclusive. So, if you ever desire to work with me, there are smaller courses that are coming out. I will be launching a private podcast feed, which is a little project of mine. But really, at the moment, it's very exclusive, small groups, and generally on referrals and, word of mouth. So yeah, just come and follow me on all my socials and my podcast. Or if you want to get hold of me on my email, mywomanlyway@gmail.com.
Beautiful. Yes, thank you. And I will make sure to share all of LaLa's links and everything for how you can reach out to her. Please do. She's amazing. We've been in each other's spheres for a few years now, I
I think it was
think, on
before
the
COVID.
socials and yeah, I think so. I think just before. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah,
We started before we were moms, and now we're moms and
I
still
know,
doing
right?
such amazing work. Yeah. Oh, good. And for anyone watching who wants to strengthen their intuition, wants to trust their intuition more deeply, you can work with me inside my Facebook community, Moon Manifesting Lunar Abundance, or become a Moon Manifesting member and really dive into the knowledge of, intuition, breaking it down, how to build that more specifically in your own experiments and play through community and guided activities. So thank you so much. And thank you, LaLa, again for being a guest. It's been so much fun chatting with you
Thank
today.
you for having me, Kellen. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. All right. We'll chat again soon. Happy moon manifesting, everyone.
Thank you.